Welcome to the Bearded Finisher Podcast, your one-stop show for all things finishing and coatings. Your host, Zach, and a variety of industry experts will guide you through the art of perfecting your finishing and business game. From seasoned pros to fresh faces, get ready for tips, tricks, and trends to elevate your knowledge and business to the next level.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Bearded Finisher Podcast. Today's episode, we have got the one, the only Matt Paint Guy, right?
Paint Guy Matt.
Paint Guy Matt. I knew I was going to screw that up. Out of Johnston Painting and Decorating in Columbia, Missouri. What's going on, brother?
Oh, not too much, man. Just happy to put my phone down for a few minutes so I can do this, man. So it's a nice break for sure.
It's a nice reprieve. How are you guys staying up there weather-wise?
Actually, we're doing good. We were supposed to have a bunch of storms yesterday, and I was doing a front door, and I do, which I don't know why I have time to do stuff like that, but occasionally I'll do little projects for friends I know, and so I'm doing their mahogany front doors, and I ended up leaving yesterday early because of it, and it didn't end up raining like it was supposed to. So, but I think in Iowa got some pretty good stuff going on, but yeah, we stayed pretty clear of all that.
Nice. It's just been down here. It's been flipping rain, man. It's been nuts. I think down here in Waco, the lake is up like somebody said like 38 feet. It's crazy. I mean, it's been so much rain. I'm so sick of it.
Yeah, no, it's well, and the guys that, I deal with a bunch of people that do cabinets during the winter and then go outside during the spring, and it's screwed their schedule all up. So I've been getting some orders from guys that just couldn't. They're like trying to fit people in that they couldn't on the cabinet side of deals, so before they can get their exteriors done. So it's just a juggling act for these guys. It's kind of, I don't know how they deal with it. I mean,
yeah, I used to always crack up where guys were like, and I get it. You don't have people in your way in the summertime when you're doing exterior repaints. You can typically knock them out a little bit faster, but it's always fascinated me, the guys that just want to quit doing cabinet jobs in the summertime and go to exterior, because I'm like, you're inside. It's usually air conditioned and it's a premium service. So you should be charging more. Like, I was just like, I could give a crap to do another exterior. I'll take interior cabinet jobs all day long over exterior repaints because they're just down and dirty and you're fighting for them, where cabinets you're not. But guys, just, it's like a mental block. They can't get past it.
Yeah, and well, for I've been dealing with these painters here in my store, or not my store, but store I work at here at Johnston Paint for forever, and I've slowly stop doing exteriors. They kind of age out of them. A lot of them do, because they want to. They're like, I'm done. I'm just doing interior stuff. And so I think it's a lot of people do. The younger guys gung ho building their business, and I 1,000% understand. And some people are just geared for that too. You just got to keep it in your wheelhouse. And and I think if you do anything, you pick your lane and stay in it. I mean, I feel like people get to know you for what you do. So if they know you for exteriors, stick with exteriors. If they know you for cabinets, stick to cabinets. You know what I mean? Like, there's a huge void in my market in that area, and so I mean, I just know from the number of phone calls I get from people, and so I try to get a bunch of these guys going, on that stuff in my area, because it's just there's more just painters and not finishers, and so and then there's some that kind of play both lines, but I think the guys that just are plain finishers are just, they need to stick in that lane, and you don't even have to advertise, really. So
no, you don't. Yeah, I had one crew, and that was his name was Paco, and like his jam, he didn't like talking to people. I mean, he worked for us for when I had my painting company, 26 years he worked for our company, and you could not. He would act like he spoke perfect English, but somebody talked to him, he'd be like, no habla inglés, just because he did not like talking to people. Put him outside and he would crank out jobs. You put him inside and, man, he hated life. And I'm like, there's something wrong with you, bro. It's air conditioned. He didn't care.
It is weird. I feel like, I work a lot and enjoy it, but some people are just, you pick what you like and do it. And I think like, it just kind of, it tends to work out. I mean, so if you do what you love, man, it tends to work out.
Let's I mean, we kind of kicked it off already, but I know a lot of people know you. You have been, man, you've been with Centurion since the beginning, since they started into the distribution model. And so you've played a huge role in the water-based wood coatings world and the migration towards it. Let's kind of let everyone know how you got started in the painting business, and then how that transitioned to you being the water-based wood coatings guy in the distribution world.
Well, I mean, I've had two jobs in my life, right? And they were both in the paint industry selling paint. Started at 15, and believe it or not, this is my 30th year as say a Ben Moore vendor. So like as of like literally like right now, my first summer job in '95 had started at a Benjamin Moore, Glidden, and PPG dealer in town of Sikeston, Missouri, and worked there for a couple years for a guy named Terry Lambert, who recently passed away. But he was a mentor. I say he was a mentor of mine. I didn't really know what I was getting into, but he told me several times that there was something called the black hole of paint, and you never get out of it. He was. I think about that daily. So. Yeah, and so and then randomly a Ben Moore driver that was like, "Hey, I heard you're going to college at Mizzou in Columbia, Missouri. Would you want a job working at a paint store up there?" And I was like, "Oh, I guess, And so, in college, I was more concerned with other things than working, and so my dad. Unfortunately, my dad found out about this offer, and I had to take it. So, but yeah, so I started with Johnston Paint when I was a freshman in college, and worked through there for I hate to admit it, but about 6.5 years of college, and quite honestly, I just never left. I really liked working there, and then the business is this is actually our 99th year in business. We're celebrating 100 years next year, and it's great to be a big part of that. And but yeah, so I got into wood coatings 4 or 5 years ago. I guess you could say it's one of them COVID things. I had some lifestyle changes too that may have had to have something to do with that. But I managed the store for over 10 years. Ran the store, and literally just I decided one day I wasn't cut out for it, and I had this wild idea that I was going to ship coatings online, and I think it caught everybody off guard, including myself. And I mean, I had some question marks in which I can 100% know why people were thinking that, as far as like, is this really going to work? This guy's giving up this job, and at that point, I'm the guy that like, you can't tell me something won't work, and I spent 16 hours a day making it work, and just I don't know, I think, like I said earlier, when you find something you really are passionate about, it makes things easier. And you just like, if I wasn't passionate about this job, I wouldn't be here, because I mean, like, I wouldn't be able to do what I do without being passionate about it, and I think that's just a huge part of it. But yeah, I mean, the first time, I mean, I remember there was a few individuals that came to my store, met me in this room, John LaFleur being one of them. um, and so John and I were super close. Him and I built this thing together. I mean, for like, we were there for, it was me and him for the whole time, pretty much. And we built this thing together. But I also want to give credit to one person that's a little bit earlier in the timeline. Uh, Austin Jackson came into my store after I told him I wanted a surf prep sander, uh, and I finally came up with enough orders to become a surf prep dealer. And I did that truly because I wanted to surf prep myself. And yeah, and this will backtrack a little bit and tell you a little bit better. Austin, I was the manager then, and he was the main reason. He came into my office and he's like, "You ought to try doing this all the time." I mean, so I wouldn't have done it without him. And so he was. pivotal part of my business. You know what I mean? Like those random meetings with people that, can change your life. And that Austin was that guy. And then luckily I had John we navigated the industry together. We both grew. And so that was fun. But once I got into the industry, I got that surf prep sander. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I can do some cabinets because I've been a hands-on guy my whole life, remodeling all this stuff. And so I started doing some cabinet jobs and stuff literally because it was just so intriguing to me. And I got I wanted to, just dive in deep. And I did cabinets for, a couple years, cut my teeth. And, I still come to work with paint on my hands every day from the night before. I mean, between the projects I do, but yeah, I figured I wanted to make sure I knew what everybody was going through. And so I went through it. And then, as soon as I got so busy at work, I had to pick a lane, and this was the lane I always wanted to stay in. So, but it helped me tremendously. And occasionally I'll dive back in occasionally and just do stuff just to kind of keep me relevant. But it's mostly my personal projects and stuff nowadays. But yeah. And then, in 4 years, I think we've been 4 or 5 years, been selling CIC. And, I started off with a couple gallons here or there. And then, next thing you know, I mean, I think you might be able to tell me better than myself. I think last year I ordered, 12 pallets maybe or something.
You were over. I mean, if when I left, I think at 23, you were. I want to say it was right at 5,000 gallons, 3,000 or 5,000. I can't remember. I think it was 5,000 total gallons for the year, and it was just like one store. That is, that's crazy.
I remember shipping my first gallon of paint, and quite honestly, she's still a customer of mine to this day. And so I was like, when I put that FedEx label on that first thing, I'm like, this is going to work. And I don't know, I was just a people person, man. I mean, I'll do, like I always tell people I'm a professional people pleaser. That's just how I was raised. And so like it kind of goes along with this industry, man. I mean, like I try to take as much time as I can to help everyone. But you know how that is. On some days, you literally just can't help everyone, man. And it's like, and it's frustrating for me, honestly. So, if I had 24 hours in a day that I could stay awake, I'd probably take those many phone calls.
But you guys don't. So you've migrated. So you started with the surf prep and the Centurion and shipping that. And that has led to you ship more than just that now. So what all are you shipping online now paint wise? Because you have quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean we're a huge paint store. I mean, like we're one of the biggest single stores in the country, if not the biggest single store location in the country for a Ben Moore dealer. And honestly, so whatever I can throw in a box, man, I'll do. But we carry Rome Bio, Surf Prep. I'm really close with Tritech guys, and I'm really close with Surf Prep people, obviously. But yeah, Romo Bio. Somebody wants to. I'll ship somebody a gallon of Scuffex. I'll have people do that. If somebody wants hey, I need a gallon of trim paint. They know I can just throw it in the box, and it doesn't really cost them any extra. But the biggest thing, is like I think people understand the value of getting stuff shipped to them now. I mean, what's your, and I once I started doing stuff, I was like, man, if it saves you a trip to the paint store and you're a planner, you can save a bunch of how much, if you have a well established business, how much money does it cost you to run this paint store? Way more than you think.
Oh yeah. You think about it, you got to stop painting, put stuff away, go to the paint store, come back, and it's not always a fast trip. Sometimes you have to wait on it. But you're right. You do have to be a planner though, and there's a little bit of learning curve for some painters.
Yeah, and luckily there's always emergencies. Don't get me wrong. I get it. But most of my customers are I would say like when I on the paint store level, I deal with guys that just started or very well experienced and organized. But I feel like most of the people I deal with on this side of things are a little, they're a little bit older in their career, a little bit more established, and they understand the value of time versus money. And And so, and everybody gets there at some point. Hopefully that like you understand, it's just like not about money, it's about time, and then it really saves you money. But and so yeah, but pretty much anything you can put in a box, I'll ship. I mean, tape, wooster, brushes. I mean, pretty much anything. But I truly try to focus on the wood finishing stuff because, quite honestly, that's just what I love to do. So
It's fun. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
that's what got me sucked in.
yeah. I mean, it's a detailed job, and I'm one of them guys that's like, it. You do one, like you do one thing one way, you do that everything. If you go to my, like when I do cabinets, I spend way too much time. So I'm not a production guy by any means, but like I'm too detailed. And then like if you go to my house, my yard's the best looking yard in the neighborhood too. So it's like I'm just programmed that way.
I mean, I get that. You're programmed. I mean, I'm kind of that way. My wife gets crazy because she would always say, we're not building Swiss watches. And I'm like, damn it, everything is a Swiss watch. It's got to be perfect. OCD level perfection. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah. Besides my desk at work, everything is like that.
So beyond the paint, though, we'll circle back. I want to talk about Johnston a little bit in 100 years. Holy crap. But beyond the paint side, you also do like some VRBO, and you really into the entrepreneur side of that, aren't you?
Yeah, I love that stuff, man. That's like my real passion. I bought my first rental property 20 something years ago, and I've lived in each one of them. And I'm telling you, every property I've owned, I've lived in and remodeled it myself. I was living there, and then I'll pop off to the next one. And then I kind of had a couple of situations pop up where like I had some bad tenants, and I was like, and I have some like my properties are a little nicer than most rental properties, and I'm like, man, this might do good in a short term rental market. And so, and I kind of got into that about a year ago, and so I leave work at pretty much at 3 o'clock every day, and then go do that. And so I got 3 properties, and I'm remodeling a fourth one. I'm getting ready to spray some Centurion flat on my cabinets that 6 branch is building me.
So how many rental properties do you have now?
10. So I got 10 properties, and I'm the guy that still mows the yards. And I mean, you know what I mean? I'm too hands on. So that is a fault of mine that I don't like to relegate stuff to people because I don't know. I just, but yeah, so my life's a little chaotic sometimes, like, so like that's like, I don't have kids. And so like I can kind of move around. Like, so if I want to go remodel a project, I literally just pick up and move and go remodel it, and people think it's probably a little odd sometimes.
I'd say you got 10 kids. I mean,
yeah, and yeah, oh yeah, well, yeah, it seems like more than that sometimes. Luckily, I got some pretty good tenants, but yeah, so that's what keeps me busy after I get done with my my shipping world at Johnston's every day. Is I go deal with that, and luckily it's a pretty well-oiled machine at this point, to be honest with you. And so yeah, I mean it's nice,
10 properties. That's so 10 properties. It's like one every couple of years. I mean, that's a great growth strategy and a hell of a retirement plan.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, this, and yeah, I mean, I like I said, I'll work here as long as I love working, in this industry and everything else. But I do have a good backup plan if one day I just want to walk off to the sunset. So, which I don't see anytime soon, but
I mean, that's good though. I mean, and it is. You were saying earlier the black hole. I've said that in some other podcasts. I'm like, I had no intention of this business. I got into it to my father-in-law just to help him out so he could go on vacation and watch his business. And that was over 15 years ago. And I don't understand how that turned into me buying the business and then selling a business and then working for a manufacturer and then a podcast. I'm like, what the hell happened? Like, this was just supposed to be like a 2-week help out. And then you get sucked into this world and it's over.
Yeah, no, and that's what I mean. Everybody I know, and I mean, and I have the best reps out there in the country. I mean, I'm really like they're my friends before business, and they're all the same way. I mean, they've been working for we've grown up in the industry together. I mean, all there's my reps, most of them are 20 to 25, 30 years.
There is a lot of age in this.
It's nice knowing I have a good backup plan, in the future, so like I don't want to have to work till I'm 65. I'm playing today. I don't think I'm going to do that. But.
What's funny is you don't want to have to work till 65, but you sounded kind of like me. It's like I'll work until I can't get up and go to work just because it's something to do. There's something to be said for that.
Yeah, as long as I enjoy it. I don't do stuff I don't enjoy anymore. I mean, that's like I literally live by that rule. If I won't do anything I don't enjoy anymore. Like I just don't. So if I get burnt out on these Airbnbs, I mean, I'll be done with it. It's like it's not worth it affecting you.
Yeah. In the long run, yeah, I would agree. Life's too short. There's too much other stuff that you can do, especially in today's world, whether it be like social media or online shipping. There's just too much out there. If you don't enjoy it, you get up and hate going to work. What's the point?
Yeah, everybody thinks they're stuck at a job, and I don't know. I haven't got any gray hairs quite yet, but I'm sure they're coming. So, but you got a couple there. I mean, you're good.
What's crazy was so this year's my 10-year anniversary, our wedding anniversary, and I have 2 kids. They're 6 and 3, and my wife and I were talking. We're taking a trip for our 10-year anniversary, and we saw some wedding pictures. There's no gray, nothing. No gray up here, no gray anywhere. And it's like you see it progress. We didn't have kids for the first 2 years we were married, I think. 4, if our son's, 3. And right around the time, like 6 months after kids, it just started turning gray, and it just keeps getting more gray every year. So, you might be onto something. If you don't want gray hair, then don't have kids.
Hey, well, I understand because I'm trying. What was it? Was it we were in? Was it the Bahamas? Maybe when we were on the same flight together, and you had your kids and everything with you, and you had your hands full for sure. Like we were coming back from Bahamas All Pro show, I think, or where was it? Texas? Or?
Phoenix.
Phoenix. There we go. Yeah, I saw you had your hands full.
Wouldn't trade it for anything. I love those 2 little boogers like crazy, but man, they are a handful. We're getting ready to. So we leave tomorrow. We drive up to Dallas and we're flying to Seattle to take an Alaskan cruise for our 10-year anniversary. We did our honeymoon in Alaska for 2 weeks after we got married, and she always said she wanted to do a cruise, and we decided our 10-year was it. But I got to tell you, I am not looking forward to a flight from Dallas to Seattle. It's going to be 4.5 hours with a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. And apparently it's just not right to give kids Dramamine or something. I don't know. So,
Yeah, that's a nasty reason, I think, but I don't know.
I'll go with that. I can get behind that. Oh man. So let's circle back and talk about, like, I'm just trying to wrap my head around 99 years in business at Johnston Paint. Is that, like, how many generations are we at there?
So it's I think it's 3rd or maybe 4th now, possibly, but there's still connections to family. The Johnston name, there's still a connection there, and so that's what's important. I mean, we've been the paint store in Columbia, Missouri for that long. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many dealers have come into this town and come and gone, and with plans on, taking a big chunk of our business, but we're just so ingrained in the community. I mean, we sponsor anything and everything that anyone can ever ask us for. And so, like, you go to the T-ball fields and reach Johnston Paint and Decorating, or somebody's, there's a cancer fundraiser, it's Johnston Paint and Decorating, and it's just, and it's great to work for a company that gives back like that. It's just not like some greedy owner just taking the money and and hoarding it. And so it's that and that's how this business is. It's at the end of the day, it's all, and like we all know. I mean, it's not about what you're selling somebody in the paint can for the most part. It's about the relationship and the trust you build with somebody to give them what's in that paint can. They know it's going to be right if it comes from you. And that's just, it's 99 years in the making. We started off as a tiny company. I mean, when I started here 28 years ago. and we were a tiny paint store then, we're doing a large amount of volume out of it. But now we have a beautiful store. I mean, this is just, this is where I'm actually at the store now. This is just a conference room we have just to host people that need to meet up, like not even our store. We have customers meet with other customers here and stuff. And so like we got a great space to, yeah, but like as you can like, so those are that's the original. If you can see that one, I just kind of shifted to the original paint store right there. And so and then there's the original owners, and so like we were on this is our I think our fourth location. We've been here for 15 years, and our old location, we didn't even have a forklift. I mean, to tell you, like where we were coming from, we were downtown and just outgrew the place. And here, I mean, now people complain about the forklift running out of propane, and I'm like, you don't even understand. But
You don't even know what it was like. Hand truck unloading pallets.
I was, we had stuff stacked everywhere, so I was the smallest guy in the store and the newest back then, and so like I was the guy that had to climb to get stuff. I mean, I may be throwing down a gallon of Aqua Glow or a Satin and Pervo from 5 feet to somebody just to help a customer at the paint counter. So, but yeah, it's just, yeah. So we're gonna have a big celebration next year. I think it's already being started planning, and I'm pretty excited about that. But
I mean, that's definitely something to celebrate 100 years. And I mean, that goes to show you, I've always been a long believer that it's relationships. Like you just said, paint doesn't matter what it is. It's a byproduct of the relationship. The paint is a result, trading hands of the relationship, but being able to ingrain yourself in that community for, 100 years, like that is truly an impressive feat to accomplish. I mean,
yeah, I didn't want to screw that up. So that's why I've always had the best interest of the paint store, with me. And so like I just like, that's a lot. It's not pressure you think about every day, but when you do step back and think about it, like, do you want to be the person that runs a business into the ground that's been thriving that many years? It's like it's not that it's a lot of pressure, but it's something to think about sometimes. And so
it'll direct how you make decisions, and in a certain way, it'll get you to make the right decision for the company, and not necessarily that'll benefit you, but maybe benefit both of you. Whereas a lot of people end up just saying, "Oh, screw the company."
yeah, no, and that's what for working at a place so long, I can make decisions that affect the business based on it may not be great today, but it may be great in 5 years. Because I know I'm going to be here to reap those benefits in 5 years, and appreciate what happened, the growth, and so like it's just I don't know. I wake up every day and ready to tackle everything that's thrown at me at work, and just yeah, I don't know, just each day is like that.
I like it. I like it. I mean, so what about any other strategies that you or the owners have used over the years to be able to outlast the competition? I know you talked about, just fully embedding yourselves in the community. Is there any other thing? I mean, if you got other distributors thinking, man, I want to last 100 years, like what are some things that they can keep on the front of their mind to be able to do that?
Well, we do. Like, we're really laid back here. The painters love coming to our store. I think. Like, I feel like I'd like coming to our store if I walked in. We might be. We cook lunch almost every day. And so we just for the people at the store, but we feed half the painters that come in here too every day. And so like, I feel like our store has thrived from like building relationships, honestly, within the store with great customer service, and then, like a lot of these guys that that we were all, like college age type, kids back in the day doing dumb things on a regular basis. And, and I've seen them grow now to having incredible businesses, and it's something to be proud of. But like, I feel like they trust us to where, to like, it's just a relationship, like you said, between the two of us. And like, and we just do a great job of like in the state. We make coming into our store a good experience, I feel like.
That is very good. A very big thing when it comes to the experience of shopping there. Feel like family. It sounds like, yeah, they could. Yeah. It sounds like you guys do an excellent job at making them family members, not so much customers. We're not trading money. It's
and just seeing the value of what you're providing somebody. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'll be the first to admit it. You know, there's some companies out there large in the paint industry that sell it in gray buckets that you know, they're going to be cheaper almost every time. But what do you get? What do you get for that price? You know what I mean? Like, well, I'll deliver a quart 2 hours from here sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what we do.
yeah, you're a transaction at that point. You guys are focusing more on what I would call, I've been reading this book, a transformative relationship, something that's going to benefit both of you down the road, not just you give me A, I give you B, now piss off. You know, you want that relationship.
Yeah. Well, just like I said, there's always more. There's a way more value that goes into what's in that gallon can. I mean, it's just at the bottom line. I mean, it depends on if you can, if you're somebody that can see that or not see that, you know. And then, you know, at the end of the day, man, I mean, it's just, you know, if you looked at the whole value, it'd be different than just saying like this is $12 a gallon and this is $15 a gallon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
like,
are you guys noticing any like within the painting industry, whether it be, you know, wood coatings or just coatings in general, just house paint? Are you guys seeing any crazy trends coming back or anything new popping up? I mean, you tinted a crap ton of paint?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I mean, you know, it's hard to say. I mean, like the trim packages in these houses are obnoxious now. I can tell you that. I mean, like when I first started, you know, you know, like when we really hit our heyday, when I took over managing the store, that was about when the recession hit, and back in 2008, 2009, and that was honestly when we moved into our location. It happened when we were building our building, and man, we got super concerned, but. And so, you know, when I first started, there was, you know, we would do 7 gallons for a trim package on a house. Well, and, you know, where people are throwing up houses left and right. Now they're all mostly custom houses and 20 to 40 gallons in a trim package. I mean, it's insane. And so, I mean, like, obviously, like the last 4 or 5 years, I've focused purely on wood coatings, you know, and I don't do much other than that at the store anymore. I mean, like at all. I help the people that come in and, you know, want those type of products. But
Are you seeing? I was talking to Jim over at Jecco Finishing up in Canada. Are you aware? Do you know him, Jim?
yeah, well, I mean, I don't know him, but I mean, I'm aware of the
Okay,
Jecco.
yeah.
Mhm.
So he's saying up in Canada, one, they're seeing the whole metal finishes. Vero is just exploding, but he's telling me that he's starting to see a lot more stain. Like, and I'm just like, are you seeing that down this way? Is it slowly getting out of the paint a little bit?
Yeah, it's slowly, and so we do custom matches. I mean, I think we've got probably either 6 or 7 guys that work the paint counter full time, and they are constantly busy doing stain matches and stuff. And that's kind of the go-to place to do stuff like that. But yeah, there's tons of stain matches. I haven't quite got into doing like anything with shipping on that because it's just there's a lot of gray area as far as in if something matches or not. If someone shipped it to me and then I shipped it back and it was like the customer didn't think it was right. But in the store, we'll deal with somebody for 2 or 3 days a lot of times trying to get you know, like a stain to match, you know, and they may go a whole different direction in 2 days, you know. But yeah, I mean, right now, you know, but definitely, I mean, I can tell you 100% the last year I've done way more greens on cabinets than any other. Like that's the newest. You know, I still have my SW Pure Whites and my Ben Moore Chantilly laces and, you know, and all that stuff, but you're seeing a lot more greens, you know, and unfortunately those things take way longer to match.
Oh man,
know, so.
I was talking to Corey Leister yesterday, and she said the exact same thing. The greens are replacing the grays and the blacks, which I got to admit, like the gray cabinet phase was probably my least favorite. I don't like gray. I just think I love black, but I don't want my cabinets black. But the color gray just is like institutional depressing to me. So to see everyone going towards like the greens and the more earth tones, I think is nice. But I'm really excited for stain to make its full comeback because stain cabinets are still like my ultimate favorite.
Yeah, if you're a wood guy, that's just what it is. I mean, like some of the most beautiful cabinets, but it's like it's just like anything else. Like these people are doing all these greens, and all of a sudden, 3 years, I feel like they're going to be like, oh man, why did I? Maybe not necessarily everybody, because it might still look good, but I feel like that some of that stuff you can't live with after a while. Where some of the whites and stuff are kind of like, we'll deal with it until we move or whatever. But yeah, some design stuff, man, it's like it's a little crazy, and I enjoy doing it because I love the pictures of vibrant colors and stuff. But I always like I verify colors with customers all day. I'm like, you sure this is the right number?
Are you sure? When I had my business, it was a lot of, you still had your white, your off-white, your antique white was all your cabinets, and people would throw a black or a green or a red burgundy or something on an island. Express yourself on an island. It's easy to repaint, but like people are going like all in green. Like every single piece of cabinet in their house, bathrooms, everything is like a hunter green. Now, I could see that being kind of one of those in 3 years going, what do we do?
Yeah, and I think and this is just my like my personal, but I feel like the two-tone cabinets too are going to be long gone. Well, and the thing is when when you do cabinets, that like it's like there's so many start and stop points. It's like where do you start and stop to make it the color transition? With around your kitchen or your refrigerator and stuff.
Yeah,
so it's
your
like
full length. Your pantry cabinets, your fridge. Yeah, those full length cabinets. I used to do everything I could to talk people out of uppers and lowers different colors because I just thought they looked weird.
Well, and it's just like then you got to have 2 touch-up paints, and then it's like then you got on the application side you got color change and
yeah, it is not fun. Not fun at all.
And you can do. I mean, I know some people out there that have done the uppers the different, flipped them backwards and had to redo them on accident. So like, yeah. So there's stuff like that happens too. But yeah, I mean, but overall, I mean, it's definitely more colorful choices, and it is leaning towards stain because I mean, you can. There's a lot of the waterborne companies, and specifically that have been working. I mean, developing stain lines, to complement their coatings.
The new water-based stain technology, the uniforming, whatever you want to call it, uniforming. Somebody call it microlith pigments, micronized pigments. The new water-based stain, I think it's going to catch on a lot faster than water-based pigmented coatings because the ability to go across multiple species and get the same color when it's a stain with the way that these new water-based micronized pigmentized stains are, it's going to be a game changer. I mean, I love it. It's great. And everyone's going to it. I mean, just about every manufacturer out there is headed that direction.
Yeah, and I can tell you that too because I deal with a very large locker company that has we've gotten to doing some water-based stains through General Finishes with Enduro, their Enduro line, and we run that through a flat line on huge production jobs and getting great results with that, and so it's like but they're dealing with SEC schools. They've done jobs for the New York Knicks. I mean, like
wow,
huge players in the industry. And so I know those designers are top notch catching the trends, and so they're definitely going stains. We've done a ton of stain on new lockers, so that'll tell you something. So
that's good. That's good to hear. I always like hearing that's coming back. So let's kind of in the finishing world, you get. I was talking to Jim and Jecko about this, and I just crack up because I know once his episode comes out, he's going to get bombarded. He's so screwed. But as the guy that's applied the coatings and that sells the coatings, I know you get tons of questions, whether it's on social media or text. Like, what is one of the most common questions that you get?
I wake up and think about micro bubbles. And I mean, like it's that's probably the number one thing, and I know it's coming every winter in the water based industry. I mean, like it's just like here it comes, and then all of a sudden, because it's a paint problem then, and now like the temperatures have changed, and all of a sudden the paint's working great, and so it's like, it's
No
just
one ever puts two and two together.
yeah, and so I don't know, and what's and which is great for me, and honestly, the end users that I sell to. I mean, so like, and you know this. I buy, say if I buy a pallet of 2800 series, 2K satin. I mean, I buy a pallet of one batch, and I'm personally using the same batch as whoever is getting it. And then so if one of ours works and one doesn't, we know, like, I mean, I usually I don't, I call it a spray booth. It's really just a exaggerated concrete room that I decorate, just painted it white and got some good lighting in there. But I don't have over the top systems that keep it humidified. I don't, temperature fluctuations for sure. My ventilation, quite honestly, ain't the best, and I keep getting pretty good results. But like, it's just there's so many challenges out in the field with different applicate. A guy may not realize that he takes a door from inside his van that's 0 degrees, and then takes it in a house that's 70, and all of a sudden he puts a material on that's maybe very cool or very hot, and then puts it on that substrate, and you're going to have trouble every time.
The learning curve from water-based from solvent is definitely, it's a unique one. I mean, it's one that gets everyone every time. And because they're so used to the solvent, there's always a solvent that will solve whatever issue you're having, whether it's pre-cat lacquer, post-cat CV, it doesn't matter. There's always a solvent, even solvent 2K polyurethane. There's a retarder, there's a reducer, there's some type of solvent that'll fix your problem. As soon as you get water-based figured out, I swear it's like Mother Nature just gives you the middle finger. Like, she is the ultimate equalizer with water-based coatings. A coating that is 60% water, Mother Nature is going to factor in every single time. And you cannot just throw that out the window. And it seems like everyone does. If it starts working for a while, it's like, oh, it's great. And then all of a sudden it doesn't work. And every time, oh yeah, I brought a butane heater in this new construction house and it was 40 degrees and I blew this propane or diesel heater in here for overnight and heat this thing up to like 80 degrees. But the paint's bubbling like crazy and it's drying too fast. I'm like, well, what's the humidity in there? Oh, like, negative 30, like 1%. So dry. And I mean, oh man, those calls were crazy. Jim's at Jekko's and I told him, he was like, I hate it. Man, if I get one more damn, what tip size do you use? He goes, I get so many what tip size. And he's like, just doesn't matter. Just because you have the same tip as me doesn't mean you're going to be able to produce the same results.
Yeah, no, and there's just, and that's what I talk with Eric Reason almost every day, and we have the same exact conversation because he gets a ton of calls, and then and then he asks me if I've gotten calls on stuff, and so we work together on stuff like that. But it's amazing. There's so many questions you can ask when a problem arises, and it's always the thing that is not on your like mental checklist. There's always some like, well, I mean, just something weird that somebody does that you just don't think is common, and you're like, and they didn't think they did it with solvent, say, solvent based products, and all of a sudden it's like, you did what? Like, and they're like, no wonder how do you not have issues before, but sometimes things just work too and out of your control, but yeah, it's just and the good thing about that stuff is like when somebody asks me a tip size. I've got this stuff so dialed in because I use it all the time that, I can tell them exactly, hey, like a dark color, do this, a light color, do this. Man, in this situation, you might want to use this tip and be sure to knock your pressure down a little bit or put some reducer in there or something. And so, everybody, you go on these painter contractor boards or whatever, and I mean, it's entertaining to see the people problem solving. And I've kind of gotten out of them because you give somebody appropriate information and they've never heard it before, and all of a sudden that they just start battling you. And I'm not one of those guys that battles people. I don't have time, but I do try to truly help people occasionally when somebody asks. I don't even know them, but like I'm like, paint sprayers. I get paint sprayer questions all the time because I'm personally, I'm a certified repair guy for Graco, Tritech, Titan. And I always tell people I could rebuild a 395 blindfolded, man. And so like I get questions about paint sprayers a lot because, but I don't know. I'm not a data sheet reader type guy. I honestly don't know that I've ever really even one of my hardly any of my products because I just know them. I know they don't. That's just a shoot down the middle.
It's a CYD for the manufacturer. That's exactly what it is. I mean, the manufacturer's covering their bases.
And I all the time tell people that, hey, this is a recommendation from me, not Johnston Paint or Centurion or Romobile or Tritech, whoever I'm dealing with. I'm like, this is what works, but they don't, like, don't be telling everybody that this is what you're doing because it'll help you in this situation. But somebody might get the wrong idea and do that all the time and have problems, And so, like, I do preface myself.
I would always say off the record, and if you tell anybody, I'll call you a liar.
Yeah, exactly. So there's and so I get hit down with questions, man. But when I can truly help somebody, I enjoy it, man.
It is. I mean, the education side of it is fun. The one thing that I've always kind of preached, and it's one thing in the industry that within the messaging boards is I want to try this, I want to try that, and I'm just like, a PSA: find a product that works for you and stick with it. Like know it backwards and forwards, mess it up, figure out how to fix it. Like these guys that switch products like every month because something happened or they just want to try a different product to see if it's any better. I'm like, you guys aren't helping yourselves. Like, find a product that works and go all in.
Yeah, and I'll be the first to admit there's a lot of great companies out there with a lot of great coatings. You know what I mean? Like it depends. Do you want one that dries faster? Do you want one that hangs a little bit better? Do you want I mean, if you got a distributor in your hometown, you know what? Get stick with those guys if you're, like if they, give you a good product and just figure it out. I'll be the
Do you
first
want to
one to tell
ship?
you
Do you not want to ship? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of companies like you said. There's tons of manufacturers out there that are making all killer products. You just got to find the one that works for you and stick with it, and not think you got to change it all the time.
Well, there's so many variables. I don't know. It's like what I did in December, in January, and February, and even just every month different. It just changes how your approach. I mean, how much reducer you put in. But at the same time, man, I think people overthink all this stuff. I mean, like sometimes you just need to put the paint in the hopper and shoot it, and it comes out perfect. You know what I mean?
It's like a golf swing. Just don't think about it and just do it.
Yeah, I'm on a hot streak right now, man. I've been laying down some good stuff lately. So it's nice when you got something like I've never sprayed any other 2K coating in my life besides CIC. I mean, so I've got it dialed in, and I just don't overthink it. And like I said, I get questions where people are, oh man, this could have happened because I put 14% catalyst in instead of 13%. I'm like, man. It's not. I try to, and I always tell people, I'm like, man, sometimes you just got to dumb it down a little bit.
Paint's not that smart.
Yeah, you know what I mean. At the end of the day, it's just paint, and like it worked everywhere but one door, and it's a paint problem. I'm like, man, it don't pick and choose where to, where to go. But but you also have to understand that everybody's on a not everybody has been doing this stuff forever. So like you got to understand, it's the guys that are getting started, they're going to have these questions, and that's what I do. I enjoy that part of the interaction. It's just the it can keep you up at night sometimes thinking about it though.
Been there. Yeah, it does. It is nice to be able to. I got a guy that messaged me the other day, was having this problem and sent me pictures and a video, and it was kind of like you and I were talking earlier before we started recording. It was one of those, you look at it and you're like, oh, okay, I know exactly what you did. Looks like you're running, I can tell you right now, you're running too high a pressure with too big of a tip. I mean, I can see it all day long. And when you can do that, and then 5 minutes later, or 10 minutes, even the next day, they're like, holy shit, bro, that solved my problem. That's amazing. But being able to notice that and help those people, it does. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel like you're furthering the industry of water-based coatings, but you're also getting even though you're not applying, you're getting a little bit of satisfaction to be able to educate people and help them out.
Oh yeah, I mean, I came in on this side of the industry, after doing, Benjamin Moore paints for 26 years, so I kind of had a learning curve myself. And I mean, I was just like a lot of these other people. Once I found I started trying to find YouTube videos, and of course I come across Eric's, like a lot of people have. And I learned, I mean, that's how I got my start, was watching his videos, and then I started watching Dennis, and then a few of them other guys, and then it was kind of funny because it's like 1 year later I'm working with those guys in the booth, and I can't remember, my first show was maybe in Las Vegas, I believe, but it was just like it was just funny working with those guys after I'd
Watched them for so long, learned them, yeah,
and they didn't know they even taught me anything, But, yeah, but yeah. So like I said, but now, I mean, somebody sends me a picture, I can almost tell you how many mils it is. I mean, just by you can just look at it and tell.
You can see it. Like, yeah.
And like that's something I couldn't have done before.
Yeah. What about some resources to guys out there either getting started in the finishing side? Like, what are some good resources? What are some advice for anybody getting into cabinet finishing as a guy that's dealt with the more seasoned and the newbies, we'll call them? What's something that you would recommend to someone getting into it?
Well, I mean, there's, like especially if you get in these groups, I mean, if you start listening to the right people, that'd be the first step. But, and then like go to some of these classes that these guys put on. I mean, like there's several people out there that do great work with education, and I think the education's first before money, and then and find those guys that you trust, and then I mean sometimes you have to take time off to travel to go learn this stuff. I mean, I did it.
Yeah, you got to invest in yourself.
I mean, when I first started in this, I mean, I went, I wanted to learn about sanding more because I was having sanding issues. And I went to, this is before I even started selling coatings on this side of it. I went to Lewis's shop because I wanted to just learn about sanding. So I booked a flight and went down to a class he was having. And then I went, I happened, I was in that area, and somehow I drove to McKinney, Texas, because I knew you guys were a waterborne company, and that's when I met Miles, the guy who formulates the product. The first time I walked in, and he personally took me on a 2-hour tour of the facility. So
that seems like a short tour.
In. Yeah, I mean, but you have to embrace. You can't just listen to a couple guys, on YouTube and figure it out. You got to. I mean, the number one mistake people making is not practicing before they go in somebody's house when they're going from, say, like Emerald to, and I'll throw this out there to whoever wants to take me up on it. I do this for a lot of people. Like if I get people that misorder stuff, I've got gallons of different colors of stuff that, man, I'll ship to people if they pay for the shipping, and they like just practice with it. You know what I mean?
Play.
Like,
yeah.
Just like don't dive in too quick, man. It's just like. Just take your time. And I get it, man, because I was the same way. I wanted to jump right in. I mean, as soon as I got, hooked up with CIC, I did one set of cabinets at a personal house of mine with Advance, and I was like, I got to find a better way to do this, as far because time was of important, you know what I mean? And so,
yeah, Advance is one of the worst. I mean, I love it, but
I literally went outside of my work and like really just went and got training on all this stuff and just I spent hours and hours of diving into it, and I think that's what it takes. You got to understand that like how much people are charging for some of these kitchens, and I feel like I'd want to go in there very well seasoned. I mean, I didn't do a set of cabinets for a long time before I was spraying, and I went through the trials and tribulations. I mean, of HVLP turbine units, and I was like, what was I thinking when I tried that? I'm sure you can get it to work, but I mean,
yeah, it takes some, different skill levels to get those turbines.
They're finicky, and so and I was already a Tritech dealer at that time, so I was like, why am I not using this I see Eric and Dennis and all these guys promoting Tritech, and I'm like, I'm already a dealer for those guys.
So. You got them over there. Why not use one? But yeah, education is the biggest part, and I agree with you. Don't make the first time you open a can of new coating in someone's house. Like, that's just a bad way to go. Play with it at the shop.
Yeah, you got to. And you got to figure out lights and darks. They spray different. And then, and it depends on what you're doing too. You got, some of these guys I sell to are just full on production shop, and they operate at a different speed than everybody else does too, And so like, I come into work every day and I learn from my customers too. You know what I mean? Because I'm a paint nerd, and so like if somebody runs across something, I'm like, man, tell me how that worked because I really want to know, and so when I come to work every day trying to learn something, and luckily I've gotten hooked up with some guys that really know their stuff and educating me on all aspects of the coatings industry, not even necessarily the application or anything, but just and so there's just you can't stop learning, and it drives. I mean, my like another thing that keeps me up at night is I've been painting for 30 years. I'm like I have that in my head, and then they've been painting the same way for 30 years.
Yeah, it doesn't make it the right way.
It doesn't make it the right way, even like I don't know. You hear all kinds of stuff like that, but that's a number one thing. The guys that just aren't open minded to change, like so.
That's a good one. Yeah, but keep learning that's huge. You're always, I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, over a decade in my own business than the manufacturing side, and I still learn stuff. I mean, it doesn't matter how long you've been in this industry, there's always more education out there and more stuff that you can learn.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm a baby in the industry still. I mean, and I act like that every day when I come to work, and like, that's just how I operate. It's like, man, what can I learn today to make somebody else's life and mine better? And so just up in the industry overall, man. It's just
yeah. Well, and that's kind of the whole purpose that I tell everyone when we talk about the podcast, when they ask me, it's just, whether it's wall paint, whether it's wood coatings, whether it's metal coatings, it's just elevating the industry, getting it to a higher point and a higher view from people that it is a profession. And also, you mentioned it earlier, the younger, or all of our reps, all the manufacturers rep, the raw material reps for the manufacturers, a lot of these guys are going to be aging out in the next, I would say, 5 years. And it's going to be a real gap. Just trying to get younger people to be like, hey, this might not be the sexiest business. It might not be tech, but we have a shit ton of fun and we make decent money doing it. So, think about this industry. You can go anywhere in it. I was talking to one of the VPs with Rivago, and it was like, once you get into the paint world, you can go own a paint store. You can go work for a paint manufacturer. You can go raw material. You can go abrasives. You can go equipment. And he's like, I can probably name a dozen chemists that manufacture paint right now in a lab, don't have a college degree, and never set foot in a university to learn chemistry. This industry opens you up to so much, and there's so many different areas and opportunities that you can go to, that we got to start bringing more people into this business. I think, as far as, the younger crowd getting out of college, not sure what you want to do. Come on, man. We have fun.
Yeah, no, and that's well, I mean, and honestly, when I actually have it on my shirt right here, this respect the trades. Like I came with this logo. I really just like I have hats with it. Like I really just feel like the industry has a lack of respect, and I want to elevate the trades along with all these coatings. It's like, I honestly feel like a lot of people have a better path going that route in the trades, and not specifically painting, just overall, than college. I mean, I can tell you, I didn't treat college as any sort of important thing in my life when I went. And here, I consider myself in the trades, even though I'm not out there, painting somebody's house every day. But all my customers that, and I kind of want to stand up for them guys, give them their pat on the back, and they're not drunk painters anymore. People need to understand that. There might be a couple floating out there, but
I remember a story. Oh, well, I know you got stuff to do, but this story cracks me up. So when I first got into the business, my father-in-law, he'd been in the business for 20, 30 years, paint as a painter. But he tells me a story about how when he was in Vail, he used to live in Vail, he had a painting company, and they would take vacation, and he had this guy, and they're on their vacation, and you get a call from the homeowner. Hey, Darrell, something's not right. And they're like 4 hours away. Something's not right. This guy's like, I don't know what's going on, but something's not right with him. So he drives all the way back, middle of his vacation, gets to the job site the next day in the morning, and the guy's there. And come to find out, it's that old school painter. He had a rag in his hand that had acetone on it. And he'd just be brushing, and and that he was just so far gone. She was like, he's like a zombie. I mean, and he had to fire him like right there on the spot. But, I get 20 years ago, the industry had that, stance. Like that's how painters were, but it's just changing that. Like that whole, I'm sure they're still out there, but you're not going to get away with that. And most painters aren't like that anymore. I mean, I would say 98% of the industry is not that anymore. They're professionals that care about the trade and want to succeed.
Well, they see it as a career, where a lot of people used to just think it was like, literally paycheck Friday to Friday. They'd be borrowing money on Monday after they spend all their paycheck on Friday, but like, it's amazing to see. And like organizations like PCA and like what they have done for the industry, man. It's, I can see, some of the paint crews here in town that have kind of bought in on that. It's changed their whole thinking, like stuff like that. So it's not just somebody out there daubing some paint on with a paintbrush, these guys are understanding it's way more than that, and so
and it is a skilled trade. May not be a licensed one, but it is definitely a skilled trade.
Yeah, some of the best guys out there that I know do some of the best work, and they're like not great at marketing and not doing this and that, but they go out there and they just do it because they love it, and they spend, they may bid it for 10 hours, it may take 20, but they'll do it because it just looks better, and I've had conversations with guys over the years like that be like, you need to charge more, and it just works, and they'll just tell me that works for them, and I'm like, hey, I can't argue that,
I'm making enough, and I just take pride in it.
Yeah, no, exactly. There's something about that, wearing it on your shoulder like that you're, walk out of there and proud of what you did, where I don't think a lot of people do that sometimes. So.
No, not at all. So before we wrap up, one thing that I always ask, not to be in a trick or any way, but just to kind of let the community and the listeners get to know you better, what's something that might surprise our listeners about you?
Oh man, I'm just trying to think. I don't know, man. I don't have much free time, which I think probably a lot of people understand that, but
kind of like a hobby outside of your 10 children is like, what do you like to do that's not around painting or the trades?
Oh, and like I enjoy sporting events. I've used to be a Cubs season ticket holder. I was there for all the World Series games and stuff. And so, yeah, I used to have season tickets to all the Missouri sports, Chicago Cubs. I'm all Chicago sports. It doesn't make a whole bunch of sense. I'm here in Cardinal territory, so that gets a little bit combative at the store sometimes. But yeah, there's. I don't know, man. Just enjoy family time. I've got. Speaking of 10, I think I've got 9 or 10 nieces and nephews now, and so like those guys keep me busy, and just keeping me on my toes, and thinking about those guys.
I knew you like sports, but I didn't know you were that big into sports. So that's. It's
It's changed a little bit, actually. Like I had. when I said earlier, some lifestyle changes. Honestly, I quit drinking about 4 years ago, and my brain it kind of coincided with doing all this work, and so I'm big in that community a little bit. So I guess that may surprise some people. So
yeah.
yeah.
Well, congrats on that,
yeah,
man. That's awesome.
yeah, yeah. A little over 4 years. So it's been a journey, man. And so when I've helped that, I'm in the helping phase now with people, and so like I take people out to lunch that have issues in the world more, and with stuff like that. And so that's another thing I'm passionate about. And so like I just like, it goes back to helping people. And so
Yeah, I mean, giving back seems to be a huge thing for you.
yeah, and so that's just something, man, that's just been ingrained in me through, my dad, Johnston Paint and Decorating, you know what I mean? And so, that's just, I don't know. That's just part of my DNA, I think. So, and now I'm able to give back, which is great. So
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, let's, I know we're getting in on that hour mark. I know you got stuff to do. I can't even imagine how many text messages you probably have about now. So
I've had 17 notifications since we started. That's below average, actually. So.
it's a Friday, so and Labor Day, Memorial Day weekend, so maybe get cut down by a third, maybe. Man, I appreciate you coming on, Matt. It was awesome talking to you. Haven't talked to you in a while, so we'll have to connect to get you back on another episode and follow up. Any last bit of advice for our painting community before we close it out?
Just, do your due diligence on your part, and just, I think everybody needs to take responsibility in the, in the whole coating industry, and like work with the painters, and the painters need to understand it's not always the paint that's the problem, and they need to be, I hope everybody's willing to learn and just move the industry forward. Like I said, none of us have all the answers, but I'll give as best honest opinion as I ever can, and I'll consult people like you, and then if I have a problem I can't figure out, I call people like Eric, and because he might have seen it at some point. So it's just I'd say self-education, take responsibility for what, you're the one charging the customer $10,000 to do their set of cabinets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just
Be
take responsibility for that. Just do, make sure you're educated, like we kind of talked about earlier. But I'd say that's kind of my biggest piece of advice on that. So
yeah, that's awesome one. What about shoot out your socials? So anybody that doesn't know you, and I know there's not many, but if they're listening, they can get you on Instagram or wherever. Where can they find you at?
It's Paint Guy Matt on Instagram. It's just Matt Ryan on Facebook. I don't do any of the other ones, man. It's like I have enough on my hands with those two, and then and you can also follow Johnston Paint Decorating on Facebook, and then Johnston Paint Como on Instagram. And so so any of those, and then like I said, any of those companies, you can find their socials on that too. So
yeah, we'll have the links down in the description down there on the video too. But all right, man. Well, I appreciate it again. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Bearded Finisher podcast. We look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode. And Matt, we look forward to getting you on another one and chatting again, man. Maybe we'll have to do a three-way, get you and Eric and then maybe Dennis too, and all of us just kind of get on and talk business.
Yeah. You never know where that stuff will go, man. That's the good part. So yeah,
that's the fun one. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody listening, and we'll talk to everybody next week.
All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
And that's a wrap on this episode of the Bearded Finisher podcast. We thank everyone for joining. Keep hustling, keep learning, and never settle for anything less than your best. Remember, the path to perfection is a journey, not a destination. Until next time.